what is up? It's Zero here, and today we are going to be going over dungeons. We're going to be going over the different dungeons in the Kairos dungeon. We're going to be going over the essences. I'm just going to be covering the dungeons today. It's just going to be a guide video. Not not anything too super crazy. I'm not going to get into a whole lot of super speed teams, but I am going to cover giants. I'm going to cover dragons. I'm going to cover necro, and I'm going to cover the essence dungeons also. I'm going to be doing this from my main account, just because I do have a bit more monsters available on there that I can kind of show and use while going through those different dungeons. So let's go jump into it real quick. So recently the new big patch dropped, 6.0, with a lot of new dungeons. These two, Steel Fortress and Punisher's Crypt, are the two new dungeons. I have not put my teams together to jump in there yet, so this is going to be more of a mid-game dungeon guide, so to speak. It's going to cover some pretty good teams to put together for giants, dragons, and necro. But they've also changed these three dungeons. Giants Keep now is all water. So with that being said, a beginner can start putting together their end game Giants B10 team and run it all the way through. So as they pull those units, they can change them out, add them into the team, and basically work their way all the way up. I'm going to cover a super reliable team for each dungeon and a fairly speedy team for each dungeon. And then a combination of those teams can be used for the essence dungeons. None of those are too super difficult. I believe on all of the essences I've got the same team saved, or roughly the same team saved for each of those. But first off, we're going to jump into giants. All of these are going to be based off of B10, but these teams, with the rune upgrades and better runes, can push into B12. I've been working on getting the baby account videos done and stuff, so I have not really put a lot of focus on these, but all of these teams that I will be going over can clear B10. And the first one we're going to go over is Giants B10. This is the current team that I'm working with at the moment, and it is capable of about a 1 minute run on B10. So we're going to jump in here real quick, and I will let you all watch this. I usually average about 1 minute to about 1:15, just provided that they get through stage 2 pretty quick. So we will let this auto, and so the Wind, Martial Cat, the Dark Inugami, Lauren, the Fran, and the Lucian. This is definitely not a completely free-to-play friendly, because the Dark Inugami you can either summon or get the secret dungeon on Mondays. Now the Martial Cat can come from unknown scrolls, but the Lucian is a natural 4-star, so he only comes from mystical scrolls. The rest of the units are fairly not necessarily simple, but easier than normal to get. There are other changes to this team You could use a water barbarian king at Aegir instead of the crow. That's an option. You could also use him instead of the wind martial cat. You could even use him in place of the Lucian. Um, but this is the team that I've been using, 120. But the best time with this team I've had is a 45-second run. So this is the team that I normally use, or that I'm currently using to farm up my giants. And the next team I'm going to go over is more of a free-to-play team if you don't have all of these units. Another good mix would be the Water Magic Knight that you're given, the Bernard that you're given, the Veramos, the Dark Ifrit that you can fuse. You can use the Shannon, or you can use the Megan, the Water Mystic Witch, and then Bella, the Inugami. So we're going to use this team. Now it's much slower. I don't know how slow this one will be because my Lapis is ruined up pretty good, and she is your damage dealer in this setup. She is the one that's going to be doing damage. But this team is fairly reliable, or very reliable, I meant. There's almost no loss chance here. You're looking at about a 99% average with this team. Very reliable, but very slow, unfortunately. You're probably looking at somewhere between a 2 and a 3 minute run with this team. But in the beginning, it'll be worth it if you can get this team put together as quick as possible. All of these units, well, the light Inugami you would have to farm up in a secret dungeon. But the Lapis is given to you, the Bernard's given to you, the Shannon is given to you through the challenges. You are guided through the challenges to fuse Veramos, so as long as you follow those steps, you'll get him. And then the Inugami is the only one you have to farm up. And you can, of course, use crafting materials in the craft on Sunday and craft a dungeon every hour on the hour until you get one. You could use your gems to buy a secret dungeon every hour on the hour until you get the Inugami. Or you can use Discord or the chat. Some streamers and some content creators will go into specific channels in the chat up here, and you can go into that channel and look and see for people to post when they get a secret dungeon, and everybody does that to help each other out to get in and farm up the secret dungeons for people that don't have them. But this is the other team. Again, very safe, very reliable, but pretty slow. Very slow. Now, my Veramos, on his skill 1, he has a chance to put a continuous damage on an enemy. He is pretty high accuracy for me, so that helps keeping the continuous damage up. But a 2-minute run. So that is going to be Giants. Those are 2 of the teams that if you get lucky on scroll summons, or if you get those monsters, either one of those teams are going to be very reliable. Like I was saying, this team right here is going to be the safest team, and it'll be the team that you would normally put together in the beginning. Now on dragons, this is the current team I'm using. Still not very fast, faster than the baseline team that you would put in here. But this one, I believe, averages me... Oh, they don't have them open at the moment. I believe this team here usually nets me about a 130 run. but it's only about 95% accurate. I'm still working on a much faster team. I've got some of the units. I just need to get them built and get them ruined a bit better. But this is the current team that I'm using, and it's not far off from the main beginner team you would want to put together for dragons. It's actually not far off at all. A few options depending on what you want to do. You could take out the Aegir and put a Rauk in there and run the 2 Inogamis. You could take out the Aegir and put a Fire Griffin in there. I'm not going to mention twins, which is the Chakram Dancers and the Boomerang Warriors in these dungeons. I actually just got mine with the last event, and one of the popular teams is the Water Chakram with the Water Boomerang. I'm still putting them together, so I have not put those teams up together yet, but I will update a video once I start getting some faster teams put together. You could take out the Dark Inugami and put in the Water Phoenix to go through here. You could take out the Aegir and put a Megan in there. Now that would be the normal team that you would start with in here. Would be your Vertiheel. You definitely want to get him fused. You don't even want to touch dragons until you start getting him fused. But you could do Vertiheel. You could do Megan, the Water Mystic Witch, Veramos in here. You could do the Water Magic Knight, Lapis, and then the Inugami Beladian. Once you get these 2 units here, the Lauren and the Fran, you will actually end up using them, and then these 2 spots here, you can kind of mix and match until you get a pretty good, safe team. So those are going to be those. I will run this team here real quick just to show you how it works. But your main team would look more like something like this, and you could even take out the Water Magic Knight and put the Water Phoenix in there. This would be the starter team you'd put together. You're looking at about a 3-minute run, but it's safe. As you get things ruined or get units, you could actually go with these 2, and you could go with the Phoenix, and you could go with the Water Knight. You could do something kind of like that also. But I am going to put my other 2 units in here. This is the team I've been up to. It runs about, like I said, 95%. And a lot of it is my runes. I've still got a lot of mix of 5 and 6 star runes on my units, so they're not completely maxed out as best as they could be. But with this team, it's just what I've been using for now. It's been really reliant. And some other options, if you want to jump into some speedier teams, getting a Galleon, which is the water pirate, getting him in here in place of one of these units, it would help speed up this team a lot. The Vertiheel, the water, the Galleon, the Water Magic Knight, and the Water Phoenix, and then you could do Lauren, and that would be a faster team, but it'd be less reliable. But you would have the strip from Lauren just in case the dragon was able to get its immunity off. That's part of the reason why I like this team, because I have a strip from the Water Barbarian and from the Light Cowgirl Lauren. So this team has proved very successful for me. And of course, everything's not set up. But like I said, this has been a very, very reliable team for me. Getting into Necro, the only team that I do have in there is going to be probably the main beginner team you would build to put together, only because I have not got the rest of the other units I would like to use in their build. As you can see, it slows down a little bit here when you don't get the strip, but once you get the strip and you get that defense break back on there, the dragon pretty much just falls apart. Going into Necro, you're wanting to get this team put together. You want to look at something like this. The Inugamis use the team-ups, which will be used with any one of these, most likely. And all of these have multi-hit attacks to keep this shield dropped. Now, if you don't have both of the Inugamis, another option would be to get the Fire Panda fused and get him in there. You could use him in place of one of the Inugamis. But this is the team that I've put together. It is also about 95% reliable. I do not have a failure very often, unless the Lich steals 2 of the units that I have, and then that's usually when it'll fail. But as long as I can keep the one unit from staying over there too long to get another one taken, this team here runs really, really well. There are a few variations. The other day I saw a all Inugami team. Actually, it was all the Rauk, all the fire Inugamis. But that's going to be something that's late game once you've got a whole bunch of really good 6-star rooms put together and can farm it up. But for the most part, getting the Fire Panda from Fusion and then collecting up the rest of these units will give you a pretty good solid team. It's not the fastest, but it is, for the most part, successful. Like I said, about 95%. And you could also use one of the bounty hunters. I believe it's the Wind Bounty Hunter, who's a 3-star. If you're breaking into the Necro dungeon, having him in here is a good option. I've seen him on some very, very early beginner teams, as far as using him in Necro. So the Wind Bounty Hunter would work with this, but you do definitely want to get into light units for sure as quickly as you're able to. So you've got at least a good stable team to jump in here. So once they get the shield drop, usually the Inugamis can jump in there and kind of melt him down as we go. That's usually how it goes, is the multi-hitters will drop it and then the Inugamis can jump up there, especially the Crow. His ability deals, one of his skills deals additional damage based on the amount of debuffs that are on the target. But you see that he got stolen, so that you want to try and keep that from happening. Melt him down, because he has a revive. You'll see here in just a second. See, that's on a 6-turn cooldown. So you've got 6 turns to nuke him down from about half health, which shouldn't be too much of a problem. But these are all really good B10 teams. They'll get you into B10 so you can farm up those runes, so you can improve the teams to climb into the new B12 stages, which are guaranteed 6-star runes. That's the main reason. But if you can get up to B10, stay there for a little while, you can farm up 5 and 6-star runes to improve your team. Stay there for a while until you can push the team into the B12 area and get those 6-star runes. So next is going to be all of the magic dungeons, and I do believe none of these changed. They're all still B10s, and I do believe I have this team on all of them except for maybe the water one. Maybe different, but I use this same team on, well, almost. But I basically use the same team on everything, and they cleared the B10 dungeons in no time, a minute maybe, if that. So the Lucian, the two Inugamis, the 2 light units, these are staples for the dungeons, getting these as quick as possible. This is what I usually use. Your Giants B10 team, whatever you build there, whether it's the beginner team, the Lapis, the Bernard, the Vermos, the Shannon, and the Bella, or whatever you use for a healer, those will work in here. They will be slightly slower teams, but they will farm it successfully. You can use those 5 in all of the dungeons. Even the fire, I believe they would be okay. Especially with the Vermos in there, keeping everything cleansed off. So those would be extremely slow in the water magic hall, just because he has a massively high HP pool. Some good options for in there would be some units that do dots or continuous damage. You're looking at a minute team with this. So this is what I've built for the magic dungeons. Like I said, your beginner team will work, and you can mix and match some of the other teams, but getting the Lauren and getting the Fran is definitely going to be a staple of all of your different dungeon teams. But those are the dungeons. It is a bit of a grind. Once I get the units put together for these 2, I will get a guide out on these 2 specifically. Hopefully in the near future I can get that done. But those are some teams and some show throughs that can kind of give you some idea of where to aim for and what to build if you are beginner or mid game or even struggling with those dungeons and you're kind of stuck. Look at your units, look what you've got, make sure there's some synergy, and you'll be okay. But if these videos are helping you or you like them, definitely leave a like and subscribe below to get more content for the beginner guides that I'm working on.